a series of mysterious fires, a lucky escape from death row, and life-saving help from another dimension. Are these stories true? Or did we conjure them up from our own depraved minds? It's time for you to decide what's fact or fiction.
The line that divides the factual from the unreal has long since blurred. The tales we once thought fantastical, now implanted as true. To decipher verity from the imagined, you must break from the ordinary and consider a universe where the outlandish prevails. Can you expand your mind to see beyond our perceived reality? Can you decide what's fact or fiction?
Residents of a small, sleepy town in northern Sicily knew that they were lucky to live in a peaceful and idyllic community. That is, until mysterious fireballs threatened to destroy their homes and their lives forever.
When you imagine a Sicilian town, what comes to mind? Terracotta rooftops? The smell of home-cooked recipes passed down from generation to generation? The threat of death and destruction at the hands of seemingly innocuous appliances? This became the case for the residents of Coneto di Caronia in 2003 when their peaceful existence literally went up in flames. It all began at the home of Antonio Pazzinos when, during an otherwise uneventful family dinner, he realized his abode was on fire. The source was the fuse box, which had exploded with such force that it had set the curtains ablaze. A few days later, the family's kitchen went up in flames, followed by the television and various other appliances. Investigators blamed faulty wiring in the home, and the electrics were fully replaced. But while that was happening, others fell victim to the mysterious fires. Almost 90 other incidents of apparent spontaneous combustion took place in the tranquil town within just a couple of months. Locals began to suspect issues with the electricity grid, so the power was cut from the central plant while electricians conducted tests. But still, even without a power source, outlets would glow red hot. It was as if these inanimate power sources had suddenly come to life to torture the inhabitants of Coneto di Caronia. Spates of fire came and went for almost 2 years, and the government, the police, and multiple scientists and engineers were left baffled. Police quickly ruled out arson, and at a loss, the government eventually settled on the explanation of there being intense burst of electromagnetic waves of some kind. But no evidence was ever found to support this theory, and with nowhere else to turn, locals looked to the local priest for an explanation, who claimed it was the devil. Eventually, the fires stopped, and the village of Coneto di Caronia became sleepy once again. Until almost 10 years later, in 2014, the village went up in flames once again. This time, local police were desperate to give people a reason for the flames that terrorized them and implicated Antonio Pazzinos' son as the culprit behind the fires, though it's widely believed by the residents of the town that he is in no way involved in the terrifying events which drove families from their homes. For many, the mystery still lives on.
Doesn't it seem impossible that an entire town could be terrorized for a decade by inexplicable fires? How can appliances burst into flames when the electricity has been cut off? Was it the work of the devil, as the priest suggested, or did it simply never happen at all? We'll let you know at the reveal. But let us know what you think right now in the comment section and by voting with the on-screen poll. Our next tale involves Tommy Harris and his lucky escape from life in prison and the terrible luck that befell his girlfriend, Sarah.
In 1962, in Fort Worth, Texas, a love story unfolded that would end with violence and devastation. It began when Tommy, a big rig driver, stopped in for lunch one sunny afternoon and met Sarah at the diner she managed. 26-year-old Sarah wasn't interested in Tommy, having just finalized her divorce, but the 32-year-old was charming and persistent, and by the end of his meal, he had convinced her to let him take her out for dinner the following week. When they met at the Mexican restaurant the following Wednesday, Sarah felt herself falling for Tommy's rugged good looks and confident manner, and soon the pair became a couple. For the first 3 years of their relationship, everything seemed rosy, and the couple spent all of their spare time together at home, eating takeout and cuddling on the sofa. Sarah had, for some time, suffered from high blood pressure, and at the age of 29, her health was already declining. Sadly, so was her relationship with Tommy, who was changing from charming and loving to possessive and cruel. They seemed like the perfect couple, but Sarah was secretly living in an abusive relationship, getting beaten seemingly at random. Her body bore the bruises of her lover's temper, and she quietly began plotting her escape from the man that she once loved. She wouldn't manage to make that escape, though, as on another sunny afternoon, reminiscent of the day she met Tommy, he beat her to death with a rolling pin. Tommy was quickly detained, tried, and convicted of his girlfriend's death, and was sentenced to death himself. But his lawyers continued campaigning for his release, as her wounds didn't line up with what seemed to be her cause of death. Eventually, 3 months after sentencing, Tommy's lawyers were successful in their request for a second autopsy. This time, the pathologist agreed with the defense that the cause of Sarah's death wasn't actually the beating, but it was, in fact, from a blood clot in her brain at the exact time as the beating, most likely caused by her high blood pressure. In a twisted turn of events, Tommy's death sentence was overturned, and he received the lesser charge of assault and battery.
Poor Sarah. What's the likelihood of dying from a blood clot at that exact moment? Even more, how was the defense team able to prove without a reasonable doubt that the clot was her actual cause of death? Of course, there's always the chance that we made this story up to fool you. Let us know what you think in the comments section now, and prepare for our third and final story for tonight. In the 1960s, Alice Bailey sought out medical attention after a mysterious voice in her head told her that she was in danger. What was really shocking, though, is these voices turned out to be correct.
Born in 1943 to a poor family in Central Europe, Alice moved to London when she was in her early 20s with the hope of a brighter future. She received what she wished for and had 3 children with the man of her dreams. Working tirelessly as an administrative assistant at a furniture manufacturing company, she saved every spare penny to surprise her family with a small vacation during the holiday. One afternoon, reading at home like she normally did, Alice began hearing a voice telling her that it wanted to help her. She felt like she was going mad, so she went to see her doctor for treatment. Just as soon as they came, the voices disappeared, and life went back to normal. Until, during one of her beloved family holidays, the voice returned. This time, it told her that there was something terribly wrong with her and that she must return home immediately. For whatever reason, she chose to trust the voice and returned back to London. The voice then gave her an address, which her husband quickly took her to in an effort to put his wife's mind at ease. And that's where things got weird. As they were pulling up to the address, they noticed in the building an MRI clinic that specialized in brain scans. The voice then told her she needed a scan because of a tumor, and it wasn't long before the results were back. Everyone was shocked and horrified to find that the voices had been correct the entire time, and Alice had, in fact, a symptomless brain tumor. The voice urged Alice to undertake a risky operation to remove the tumor, and so she trusted the voice once again and had the surgery. Everything went as planned, and upon gaining consciousness after the operation, the voice had one last message for her. "We're pleased to have helped you. Goodbye." That would be the last time that Alice ever heard the mysterious voice.
Is this a tale of a guardian angel or a figment of our imaginations? Perhaps she just had a hunch that something was wrong and she created the voices herself. But how come the voices were so accurate in details? What do you think? Let us know in the comment section below, and once again, vote by using the on-screen poll. Now, let's get to the part we've all been waiting for, the reveal.
Are you ready to find out if you can decipher between fact or fiction? Let's look back at tonight's 3 stories and find out which were born from reality and which were fabrications of the imagination.
Do you recall the sleepy little town of Caneto di Coronia in Sicily? Is it possible that the devil had something to do with the random fires? We'll never know whether it was really a force of evil that was to blame, but Antonio Pizzino's home did in fact burn, along with those of his neighbors. To this day, authorities are trying to convict Antonio's son for what well may have been the work of Il Diavolo. Now, what about Tommy Harris and the murder of his girlfriend, Sarah? Could this cold-hearted killer really have been lucky enough to escape execution because of his victim's health problems? If you think this story is based on reality, well, we're sorry to say it's not. This was simply the workings of our own writers. Finally, we have the miraculous tale of Alice and the voice guides in her head. Is it possible that she was saved by an unknown guardian? Does Alice really exist? And can she really owe her life to the noises in her head? The answer is yes. Although nobody knows her real name and she's only known as AB, she in fact owes her life to a phenomenon that doctors are unable to explain to this day.
How well did you do in tonight's video? Did you look past the deception of our world and define the off-blurred line that struggles to separate lies from the truth? Let us know in the comment section below. And should you find the urge to test your perceptions again, be sure to subscribe and join us next time when we ask you to decide what's fact or fiction.